summer morning on July 2nd. Oh, we have a nice spider here too that just caught something to eat. Anyway, we're starting with one of my favorite native shrubs. This is smooth rose, Rosa blanda. Blanda means smooth. And it's one of the only roses that doesn't have any thorns on the stem, hence the name smooth rose. It has these beautiful, fragrant, pink, single flowers. Single in the world of roses means a single row of petals, not double rows of petals like you think of a rose. But these beautiful pink flowers, about 2 inches across with yellow centers, again, fragrant like wild roses are. And these will end up producing a small red berry called a hip. They're called hips. The fruit's called a hip on roses. And they're colorful, and birds and other animals love to eat them. They're high in vitamin C. People eat them too and use them in potpourri, but it's just a wonderful native plant. Even the foliage, and these are, you might think that this is one leaf right here. This whole thing right here is one true leaf. It's a compound leaf, and when they're arranged like this, as they are on roses and ash trees and honey locust trees, this is called a pinnately compound leaf. Anyway, smooth rose here in bloom right at the lodge door. This is common Fleabane. Looks like an aster. That's because it's in the aster family, that typical aster flower. Pale pink, yellow in the middle. Actually, that yellow part, those are all the true flowers. Called Fleabane because apparently you can grind up the foliage and it'll deter fleas. It has clasping leaves. You can see how they just clasp onto the stem. Not perfoliate like we saw a few weeks ago with bellwort, where the stem actually kind of threads right through the leaf. And here it just clasps onto the base of the leaf, clasps onto the stem. But these really pretty aster-like flowers with a nice light pink hue. Very nice summer flowering aster relative. Here is Oxeye Daisy. Apparently it got its name years ago because they thought it looked like an ox's eye. I can't see it. Anyway, everybody loves this. It actually is a non-native. Some people consider it invasive. It certainly isn't up there in that list of serious invasives with forget-me-not and Dame's Rocket and some of those, because it's not going to go out into the woods and take over in shaded areas. It likes meadows, fields, roadsides. Very common. It really is pretty. Like all aster family plants, butterflies and other pollinators love it, so it's great for that too. So even though it's considered by some an invasive, certainly a non-native, it really is a hard plant not to love. Oxeye Daisy. Our final victim for today is Bladder Campion. This is actually, it's a weed, considered a weed, although weed is, it's a tough word to define. The best definition I've ever heard is it's a plant out of place. So if it's a plant we don't want it, whether it's a native or a non-native, you can consider it a weed. But this is a non-native plant, not invasive. You don't ever see a ton of it. And it's not going to move into the woods and take over in there like forget-me-not and Dame's Rocket. It's in the carnation or pink family. It's related to carnation. And if you look at some of the garden pinks, which are related to carnations, you can see a similar flower arrangement. And the sepals, these are the petals, but this bladder, where it gets its name, Bladder Campion, is actually are the fused sepals, which is the outer part of a flower bud that protects the petals before they open. Opposite, again, clasping stems, just like we saw with common Fleabane. Sometimes the bladder is tinged with maroon. This is not, but sometimes you'll see that. But it's a really interesting flower. I remember even as a kid thinking this was interesting because of that bladder. So, Bladder Campion.